printing is going the organized retail way, all thanks to India's first digital printing chain, Printo.
A print in the fastest possible time without too many hassles.
Sequoia was a case of a venture capital fund, right, trying to go back on its deal and basically cheat an investee portfolio company, right? Maybe you have an agreement, you go back on it, you're cheating. They paid us half the money. When the time came to pay us the remaining half, they said, no, things have changed. We won't be able to pay you. And everybody on the board says, let's not take them to court because it's not good to take a VC like Sequoia to court. But then they came back and said, we'll pay you, but give us more. I don't like to necessarily advise that get out of your comfort zone because it doesn't resonate with me genuinely. Right? My zone is only trying to find something which is not very comfortable. I think the role of business, one of the roles is to make money. Business cannot stand without society, right? So it's your responsibility to be part of society, give back to society, give employment, see to it that society is furthering. It's not just the profit element.
Hello everyone, welcome to Zindagee Ka Tadka. Today we are with Manish, who is having 1,000 other things going on for him, but most popularly known for as a founder of Printo. So I'm very honored and privileged to have you, Manish. Welcome.
Thanks for being here. I'd just like to make a correction that I'm a co-founder of Printo. I founded this with Lalana Zaveri, my wife.
Absolutely, yeah. First, I want to know a little bit about आपका थोड़ा सा बचपन के बारे में.
So I was born in Bombay. I did my engineering in a college called Ramaradik Institute of Technology. It's in New Bombay. It's Bombay University College. I think my college made me what I am today in so many ways, right? Because it gave me exposure to a bunch of different things. I was the general secretary of my college, stood for elections there, ran
elections.
Yes, we used to, that time there used to be, NSUI backed candidates, ABVP backed candidates. I was the first independent candidate, right? भाई किसी के साथ नहीं जाना, भाई माफ करो, पिटना भी नहीं है, जाना भी नहीं है, and it was great, right? And we had good time. I won the election. There was these are small things, but they stay with you for a very long time.
I'm sure. Weren't there any like Munna Bhaiyas who were like, "कि नहीं भैया तुम कैसे election कर सकते हो?"
This was like, and we were in New Bombay. वहाँ 30 पार लोग जाते थे, which means that when you're exiled from a police jurisdiction by the judge, they say that Bombay में नहीं घुसना है. They used to come to New Bombay. That's where our colleges used to be. Man, it was a mess, and everybody would get, since you're going there and you're hanging out there, you will get involved in some college politics or the other. And after that, I joined rediff.com. I was their 5th or 6th employee. These were very early days, right? The internet is just starting in India, so a very exciting time. And then set up my own software company with a couple of friends from college, Viraj and Sanjay. And yeah, that was it. We actually ran a pretty successful software solutions company. It was called DBS Internet, and we started it literally in a go down in Grant Road. We built websites, the front ends as well as the back ends. For example, for the National Stock Exchange, that was our prestigious project.
Really?
Yeah. Now, NSE was a leader in tech, and they were known as the premier quasi-government institute, which used to go out and invest heavily in tech. That's kind of my early formative years. Yeah.
Do you ever wonder कि अरे Rediff में you were like one of the early employees and all?
Yeah.
So if अगर मैं वहाँ पे रहता तो आज I don't know what would have been the.
No,
do you think like this?
Yeah. No, I don't. The short answer. But Rediff did go and IPO on the Nasdaq. It was the second or third company which IPO'd on the Nasdaq after Satyam, right? So if I'd stayed there, would have made money. But I think the deal was not to just make money, right? Money was I'm more a product guy. So doing something new and interesting is.
You studied in Oxford also. How was that experience? How do you contrast UK studies to Indian studies? And if you have any idea about the studies then versus now?
It was completely day and night. Firstly, I had a few amazing professors in engineering. So let's start with the fundamental. Actually, before the professor, let's start with the material, right? The material that was not too bad during our time. Then comes the medium, that's the teacher. I think you have some folks who say, I want to be a teacher, they're passionate about it, and they come in. And we had a few of them, but they were the minority. I don't know what the salary levels today are. Salary levels couldn't have been great that time either. So you basically were considered, if you were a non-performer, you didn't get anywhere,
Exactly.
then you would do a M.Tech and teach B.Tech students,
Yes.
right? Or BE students. That was a normal script. There's no interaction, there's no learning, right? It's only sikhana hai. The setup is bad, execution is bad, so it doesn't make sense. I think Oxford content was great. Yeah, I would have given it a 6 out of 10. The professors were outstanding, right? So engaging in debate, being open to being questioned, debating back. I think that, and the third one is you learned a lot from your peers. So you're learning, you're not being taught, right?
Yes.
So you're being asked a question and made to think. I think that was a big difference.
You said friends and all. So these friends are mostly like in your social circle, or they kind of help you professionally also?
So I'm trying to
Because they say
understand your
no, you
question.
have to build a
Yeah.
network there. So what's
Yeah. यार मेरे तो सब फ्रेंड्स बेकार हैं, एक पैसे का काम नहीं हुआ है मेरे. So I don't think my network has helped me anything, and they must. I'm sure I have not helped anybody for a single paisa either. So they find me the same way. But I think we've given each other much more than what money can buy, right? So very good friends for life.
Because here also in India, when you're doing MBA in IIMs etc., you are being told कि ठीक है पढ़ाई तो ठीक है, IIM का एक brand मिल जाएगा, लेकिन the biggest strength is they don't even talk about peer learning. What is most talked about is you make good networks so that when people are placed in good places, then tomorrow it could be helpful for you.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a big believer in that, and I also feel that it, in fact, going to any of these named Thappawala schools may unfortunately set you up for to be always under pressure. Now that you're from IIM Ahmedabad, you cannot fail. Means, and if you succeed, that's the par for the course.
That's the baseline.
Yes. All these institutes are just a filtration process, right? आपको किसी बड़ी कंपनी के HR को ढूंढना है तो कहते हैं यार ये IIT ले लो, IIM ले लो.
I know you built a AI company in those years. That was your biggest passion, and I understand that maybe .com bust happened. That is something kind of external condition. But then that passion cannot really go away, because I've heard you say in some other interview that then you lost interest in IT itself and you wanted to do anything but IT.
I think what I meant was that when I came back to India, I didn't want to be in IT, right? Because
Why
India
is
was
that?
primarily doing IT services, right? And
So you didn't want to be in like a Me Too.
Yes, and not be in the services sector where essentially you're building something which is specced out. So it's not a product role. I see myself more as a product guy, saying that tell me a problem or let me find a problem and then go and solve it, right? Services is more about somebody else's problem. They've specced it out, they've done everything, and they're saying, okay, ये design है घर का, तुम यहाँ ईंट की दीवार बनाओगे, यहाँ पाइप फिट करोगे, ये सब करोगे, इतने टाइम में करोगे और इतने पैसे में करोगे, right? And that it's an important task. Somebody has to build it. It's just not my cup of tea. And that's
in that analogy, what is the product?
Product is the person sitting in the US saying, hey, listen, how can I make checkout faster at a Target or Walmart counter? That's the person who's thinking product, right? Saying that, let me solve a problem. Why is this queue so long? Specs it out, does everything, goes to his CTO, gets approval from business. They say it's a problem worth solving. CTO then assigns it to a product manager who'll get an architect in, put a team together. Then they'll send the specs to India. Right.
And get it done.
Yes, right. So that's where it was not my say. But it's good business to be. It's given India a lot of money and it's been fantastic. So that was one. Today times have changed. You see a lot of more interesting product companies, so many of them. I'm very hopeful of the younger generation doing much of that. But in general, I yet don't see big innovation out here. And I think the gap there is the venture capital access, right? So venture capital, nobody's got the vision to bet beyond. There are very few who can do that, right? And because our ecosystem also new, right? So if you're going to come up with some crazy idea, very few people are going to bet on it. The first question will be, US में तो हुआ नहीं है तो यहाँ क्यों होगा? Which is a valid question to qualify certain things. But I think फिर हम वहीं रह जाते हैं. चलो फिर Uber कर लेते हैं, US वाला
Flipkart
यहीं
बना
बना
लेते
लेते हैं, फिर वही exactly copy Amazon, do something or the other out there. It's not easy to do that, right? It's very difficult to build Flipkart, but and it's taken its own trajectory. But you won't see product companies out there. And in US also, if you see the big guys, right? So spending a lot of money has not necessarily built too much value in terms of Facebook kya hai yaar? It's some social platform. Is come on, we could have solved the world hunger problem, instead of getting people to chat on Insta and WhatsApp and stuff like that. So you have exceptions like this, but you have good product companies as well, right? Who are doing things which are meaningful, adding value.
What did you see when you thought of Printo for the first time? I know you were also perhaps looking for some luxury salons or loos and whatnot. I don't know.
One, I was just looking for an opportunity, mostly in the SMB space, because while I said IT mein kuch nahi karenge, I was looking at a software product. I was thinking of an accounting package for SMBs, which would be served on in a router type product, because we didn't have web access which was consistent like today, like a utility. So effectively, I was thinking of Zoho books at the time, right? If to give you an analogy, right? And Zoho was it not in India? It was a CRM company, and they're selling mostly to the US. There was Tally in India and a couple of other guys, right? So that's, I was looking at that, looking at some other products in that space, but just a personal experience led me to see that hey, there's a gap out here. And my co-founder and wife, she was working with Xerox, so I could very quickly discuss with her, ये क्या हो रहा है यहाँ, ये लोग ऐसे क्यों कर रहे हैं, what are the economics of this business, and and I thought there was something there, right? So took her help a lot, investigated that field a bit, and I thought let's do this, let's create a cookie cutter model of getting brand and printing everything that a small business needs. It's a headache, right? We have to pick up the phone, call somebody out there.
Then maybe you were a pioneer in India, or you had some incumbents that you were fighting with?
No, we were pretty much new out here. Nobody had created a brand in that space, right? And I think hence the opportunity, right? So it was all run by individuals, 1-2 shops at
Mom
most,
and pop shops.
Yeah, and these are not small operations; they are big operations. 1-2-3 crore कमाते हैं वो साल भर का, from running these, because we are talking of production grade printing. We're not talking of photocopying and just black and white printing. The leaders in every city, right, are pretty big folks, right? So, but they give you crappy service. So we thought we could innovate on service and secondly productize stuff. So that was the concept, right? And keep so the demand was already there. We productized and grew the demand to a different segment. And they said, oh, we can get this done. So today, somebody who's creating a business says that, I want some labels for my my cookie brand, or whatever brand I'm creating. We earlier to even think of that, ये क्या बोलते हैं, कहाँ जाएंगे? Today we know you can go to a Printo, get this done, or there might be a Printo like service online. Let's go find this out here, get this done. So I think we like to consider ourselves as folks who didn't create demand but productized it and hence increased the demand, and we innovated on service delivery, right? So that was not happening.
Did you get any pushback from those existing big players or anything, or it was like a fair game?
No pushback at all. In fact, I think the only we got a lot of competition from them, and because they're also very smart people, and they work harder, they are smarter, and they don't follow the law. So 50% of the problem is 50% of the billing.
They're cheaper,
are not tracked. GST नहीं है, PF नहीं है, ESIC नहीं है. ये हमें पता था तब, but we thought India बदल रहा है, सब change हो जाएगा. राहुल जी नहीं करेंगे तो मोदी जी कर देंगे, वाजपेयी जी कर देंगे तब, okay, वो नहीं करेंगे कोई और करेंगे. But that government changes take so long, irrespective of the intent, right? I think I'm sure the existing government as well as the previous government have an intent to get this done, because that's the only way we're going to develop. But implementation is so slow that even till today, compliance is very, very poor. So your question on competition, I think competition is good, but instead of
it's
being
like an unfair competition.
Yes. So business is all about creating unfair competition. So you're tilting the playing field, but
there's a little illegal competition.
Exactly, right?
Unfairly illegal.
Yes. Yeah. So we want to tilt it by creating a brand using tech, all that stuff, productizing. But
But
you
you know,
can't.
at least Indian consumer, what I have seen is थोड़ा बहुत सर्विस में ऊपर नीचे चला जाए, थोड़ा बहुत क्वालिटी में भी they would compromise, but as long as if it is cheaper in price.
Yeah.
So then how did
Yeah.
you fight that? How were you able to give premium services for like
Yeah.
a higher?
I think we charged a premium, and we service basically the rich of India. If you really see, Bangalore,
Yeah, they
Gurgaon.
don't want that chick with that guy.
Yes, and it's not that they're paying, while they might be paying a 15% premium, पर आपको 150 रुपए के बिजनेस कार्ड्स पे 20% प्रीमियम देना हो, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? He's saying मेरा टाइम जा रहा है वहाँ.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to. I remember one customer coming in, and he was like, he walked in and he was already very aggressive. He was expecting, when he got to know it's a print shop, he was expecting something. Later I spoke to him and he was much more chilled, relaxed. He's saying, I hate going to print shops, but I go to print shops a lot. And he's saying it's a bloody fish market,
Yes.
right? And you guys have got a very good service. You're charging me more, but I don't care. And I said, this guy is exactly my customer, because it's only 30 rupees, right? Of course, I have to be very competitive once I cross the 2, 3, 4,000 rupee bracket, right? If you're buying something as an entrepreneur for 5,000 rupees, for your business, labels, anything that goes in as raw material, you will go and check and say, okay, I don't mind paying a 5% premium, right?
Absolutely.
So I think the Indian customer base does pay a premium, and that's the base that we go after. Of course, if I had to sell to tier 3 India and tier 2 India right away, I wouldn't be able to do this at a premium.
So, sometimes I see this, and most people, I think even the American entrepreneurs also, they're always like, you build for that top tier, build for India A+.
Yeah.
So if everybody is building only for them, I think these Zomatos and Blinkits are also kind of serving them only because I want it quicker.
Yeah.
Then do you think like we are leaving space out for something? But then again, there is like, you want to do it to get something out of it also.
Yeah, I think I think most of India needs these services, right? Because you don't have to. So there are two parts to this question, right? We are clearly capitalists. We're not building to help people out, right? So we are in terms of help customers, give value to customers without extracting value, right? So that's one clear part of it. There can be a social side to the business, which we believe we have, which is in terms of the employees and how you treat them and what you do with them. But you need a proposition where you can extract value. So that's clear. So that's why you will focus on where that value is, right? And also when you did your product product definition, the first definition is problem kya hai, kiske liye problem hai, right? Is it for all of India? Is it for part of India? So I don't think anybody should in the business of saying, at least in this context, right? So that I want the farmer in India to have a instant delivery of groceries, right? So वो जूते चप्पल पड़ेंगे कि भाई इतना ले रहा है तू मेरे ही टमाटर के लिए, right? But so I don't have that confusion. But if the compliance issue was not there, I think if the costs of businesses, if it was a level playing field, a lot of organized businesses would have penetrated to tier 1 and tier 2 cities much more efficiently, which would have effectively brought down prices for the consumer, or at the same price got them better quality, right?
So I think it's a big message for our governments and all, like the moment we make compliance itself better, it makes the taxes also go up, as well as makes people's lives easier, better quality of living.
Yeah, because you go to any town, right? They have same needs, no, as most of us, but they don't have access to the same thing, right? Now, if they wanted the same day, next day, or they would then go on price based to the same one. So the sad part is that if you do this, the price, so I will be able to sell you a high quality product or a low quality product, whatever you want, but the price that I sell you at, right, will the difference of it is clearly going to be the margin that I either keep for my profit or I give to the government, right? So that's when whatever profit you make, you got to distribute to your shareholders or to the government. But in India, we have a good problem. You say, it should not shareholder to मैं ही हूँ और सरकार को तो जाएगा नहीं भाई, right? So
many times you are filing the return knowing इस बार कितना tax भरना है, and then you back calculate it. Many people have I have seen who do it.
And most common thing in unorganized businesses is कि tax क्यों भरना है, right? So then you set up 5 companies, right? But most what amazes me the most is the criticism that I get from well-wishers is that तुम पागल हो क्या, तुम पैसे कैसे कमाओगे अगर तुम ये सब कुछ करोगे तो? A lot of them, some very wealthy folks say that बस आजकल तो पैसा ही वो टैक्स arbitrage में है.
Even Trump says that, no, like I'm intelligent because I know how to bypass the tax.
Yes,
and also
yeah, evade the
if at the
taxes, yeah.
highest of the levels people are trying to
Yes.
find loopholes,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
when you talked about money, right? So you started with your own money, or you bootstrapped it, or you did VC funding, angel funding? Like how was your journey?
How long back do you want to go back to? Because
Like
if
the
I
first
say-
store.
The first, Printo. Okay. I was wondering because I might claim, first store was started from my savings. वो savings कहाँ से आए? Because I went and worked hard and got in there. वो कहाँ से आए? Because I went to school and college. वो कहाँ से आए? उसका पैसा कहाँ से आया? Finally, माँ बाप से ही आया. उनके पास पैसा कहाँ से आया? So I'm saying it's for me it's always a more complicated question. The answer is always मेरा तो कुछ था ही नहीं यार. We are just standing on some social
Giants'
startup.
shoulders.
Yeah, and I don't just mean this from from any other way, but saying that once you're already born at a certain level,
Yes.
you got an advantage, so you do this. But coming to your question of how did I start the stores, because I was working abroad, I had, as you would very well know, I had, I was overpaid and underworked, and I had a lot of money saved up. Yeah, so we, by money, Lalana's money, and it was enough to open the first store. But we also raised money from friends and family, a few angels, right? And I think we put together, our plan was to raise 2 crores. We landed up raising about 1 crore 10 or something. इसमें 50 लाख हमारा होगा, right? 60 lakh friends, family, and fools.
The 3 Fs.
Yes.
There were some people not from friends and family also who trusted with money for an idea which is not yet there, and
Yeah.
you are saying like I'm not going to
Yeah.
do illegal stuff to earn and all that.
Yeah, because
Who are these people? Like
they are fools. Means, and I say this with a lot of respect.
they believed in you.
Yeah, so there's always this spectrum between being brave and being foolish, right? So you got to do that. So I had some wonderful supporters. My qualifying thing was that आपको 5 मिनट में आइडिया समझ नहीं आया तो बस आपका टाइम वेस्ट ही नहीं करना है मुझे. मेरे पास बहुत टाइम है, पर मैं पैसे मांग रहा था, पर आपका टाइम नहीं वेस्ट करना, निकल जाऊंगा, राइट? सो अब I have Praveen Gandhi, who's an angel investor, Sridhar Iyengar, angel investor.
And how did you get to know these people? Cold reach outs, or you knew somebody who knew somebody?
Praveen bhai, I met at a Thai event. Also, we were, a lot of people knew about DBS Internet. We were like literally, actually, that company was a pioneer, right? And yet people know that in the Bombay circles, in the tech circles, we are among the 3-4 internet companies in
That gave
Bangalore.
you some credibility, obviously.
Yes, yeah. I didn't know people then, but if I would say, I was one of the co-founders, give me some credibility for sure. So, and people were, I must have spoken to lots of people. I only remember the ones who said yes to me. So, and, but most of the people who've been abroad, they were able to get the concept right away and say, yes, yeah, ye chalega, or say, nahi, ye nahi chalne wala hai, right? Others who said, who wants printing?
Yeah.
Right? And I said, हाँ, किसी को नहीं चाहिए, मैं चलता हूँ. Thank you for the coffee.
Because even today, if I want to start something, I would obviously always find people who would be, and they don't mean bad, they mean well only. They're like, iski kya zarurat hai and all that. So how do you actually overcome that? How can you have that strong a conviction that you see that these people who are experienced much more than me and they don't see some value in it? So how do you have that kind of conviction?
I guess, and you've gone that path again. So that's also the same path of being foolish, being foolhardy, being brave, right? So that part of it. So you feel that it's there. You can go out and prove it, try to see if there's data. But if you're convinced it's there, you'll mend that, you'll collect the data accordingly. So I did a survey. I think there were 120 or 200 people, I can't remember, whom I surveyed, very rich survey, qualified, got the same people whom I thought were in the right strata, ran businesses, this, that, about, where do you get stuff done? Do you think
Your would-be customer, like
would be
from
customer profile? And yeah, and I think 96-97% of them said that we don't need this kind of stuff.
they said they
right?
don't need it.
Yeah. What did I do? Went there and did it anyways, right? So you will always, I say, कुछ फायदा ही नहीं है. आप survey कर लो, but I think the question that I realize is that, see, you can't ask a customer for the solution. Right? I can't ask you that, what do you want, right?
They don't know it.
Yeah,
perhaps.
yeah. So I can't say कि जब चश्मे नहीं थे, I can't say एक चश्मा बनाऊंगा. तो मैं ना ऐसे डंडी होगी, कान पे होगा, and it's going to make the world look bright. He said, "Are you mad? What sticks on my ear and then rested on my nose? It's going to balance all the time." Yeah. So I'll solve your reading problem or your short sight problem or your myopia or whatever, right? And we'll come back with a solution. So I think that was on the serious side. That's what I saw, that these guys have a need. But this question about, do you want a print shop, is a silly, stupid question, and that's why they've said no, because they can't visualize that. That's fine, right? Also, Bombay is a very different market. I had a huge Bombay bias on that survey. So if the other thing it told me was, yeah, let's not do it in Bombay. Bombay is too expensive. I couldn't even have, my money would have, half the money would have gone in deposit for the shop, right? So वहाँ से निकल गए, and yeah, and we came in out here. So our idea was, let's do one shop, right? See where it goes, what's going to happen,
right?
And so you are, it's and you're also younger. You're betting all your bank balance. But ठीक है ना, 2 साल में नहीं चलेगा तो
कुछ और कर लेंगे.
कुछ और कर लेंगे, नौकरी कर लेंगे, कुछ और कर लेंगे. We do that. I think.
So you think it is easier to start something like that earlier in your career than maybe a little later?
That's a good question, and I think there are both sides to it. I've always regretted not working for a larger corporate for at least a few years.
Few more years.
I didn't work for an MNC kind of thing, right? And I think that's something which I would have learned. It would have helped. So hence doing it later would.
What you would have learned there, you think?
Well, it's a good question again.
No, because actually in a smaller company you have a bigger impact part, right? So you can learn more there. In a bigger MNC you are a much smaller cog, so chances of learning perhaps are even smaller.
You're right. So I think I did a lot of good learning in Rediff in short stints there. Work directly with the founders, right? It's always there, so you learn a lot. Perhaps scaling structures and all that stuff is not my strength, right? In terms of process, ये वो, and would have said, अच्छा लोग ऐसे करते हैं, ठीक है, we can do the same thing, but we can do it in a no-nonsensical manner, right? Maybe those things would have come out. But I think, coming back to your question, you're a little more, I think, less opinionated in some sense, right? Over the years, after many falls, you start becoming more opinionated, and you stop you're wanting to take bets. You see risks more, right? So it's the burden of age, right, and experience, that you see more risks than opportunities. And in the earlier years, you see सब कुछ ही opportunity है.
The worst case scenario there is not that bad. As compared to now.
Yes, but I feel that there is one reason when we can see that, because we are more foolish when we are younger, right? It also allows us to be a little more creative, right? And once we are older, we are just seeing landmines everywhere, right? But I'm saying, on the extremes, if you got to see, great creative work has happened mostly in the pre-30s.
No, but what is your suggestion then?
I think we should start something early. I'm not saying that everybody needs to go and do something, become an entrepreneur, but I think you should do something in product, solving a problem rather, right? So you bring things together to solve a problem, is what a product manager does. I think that's a great skill to pick up, right? And it helps you think beyond your domain, go outside your comfort zone. That is what I feel folks should do early in their life.
Tell me how to get out of this comfort zone. That's a very, very, it's not easy.
It's
You,
not
you
easy
said
at
you
all.
said it so
Yeah.
easily, but like
Yeah.
what exactly can be the drivers to do that?
I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe you think as well, because I don't have an answer right up there. But let's look at where we might have got out of comfort
Like, what was
zones.
your comfort zone in the beginning, which you actually overcame, or it was
Yeah.
right up your alley? You wanted to do print. You had your wife, and so it was like okay, one after the other. Or
Yeah.
you actually was like कि ये तो मुझे बिल्कुल अच्छा नहीं लगता,
Yeah.
ये मुझे आता भी नहीं है, पर मैं ये करके छोड़ूंगा क्योंकि
Yeah.
मुझे करना है.
Yeah. So I think for most entrepreneurs, as you might also realize, being an entrepreneur, it's not about getting out of comfort zone, but and hence I don't like to necessarily
Terminate that.
advise that get out of a comfort zone because it doesn't resonate with me genuinely. Right? My zone is only trying to find something which is not very comfortable, right? Means you left your job and started a channel. Clearly, you wanted to do something which is not any comfortable, but you didn't think about, hey, this is my comfort zone, let me leave this zone. Your calling was something else. It wasn't getting out of the zone. So I think I'll just rephrase it differently and say that if your calling is your job, super, great. Stick to it, right? You don't have to get out of your comfort zone just for the heck of it, right? But so I think most of us entrepreneurs do things which is because there's a calling.
But let me paraphrase that again.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But still have friends which are working in big corporates
Right.
and all, right? And many times in our conversation, it comes to, I know I'm stuck in my comfort zone. I do want to do something. So, while you say that we are doing something for our calling, it is not to come out of the comfort zone, but some people who have kind of feel that they're stuck in that, they actually want to come out and they want to explore that maybe there is something more.
Right. Yeah. I don't think they want to.
If they wanted to.
Yeah, because I think they talk about it, but they don't really want to do it because I feel they're driven enough. They've gone through IIT, IIM, done a bunch of stuff, gone through promotions, and something else is driving them. So, if this was really driving them, it was really an issue. It's a good conversation to have over beer, right? And have it again and again. But यार मैं कुछ करना चाहता हूँ, मैं भी कुछ अपना हो, क्यों हो भाई अपना? Means what is it that's driving?
नहीं अपना पैसे तो तुझे वहीं ज्यादा मिल रहे हैं.
या नहीं अपना कुछ ब्रांड अपना खुद का हो, अच्छा फिर उसमें क्या करना है? What is the price you're willing to pay for it?
Yes.
Will you pay 50 lakhs to have something आपका खुद का? Is that, I think once we start putting that, people will start realizing, and then folks will say, no, actually I'm better off here. But there will be folks who will say, yes, I'm willing to pay that to get out of this place, right? Because you have friends in I have friends in corporates who would say, I want to go and climb Everest, and they've done it, right? And there's a price to it. Yes. Says, okay, it's going to cost me 40, 50 lakhs, 70 lakhs. It's going to cost me 2 years of training. I feel it's more facetious, talk about it, and if it's not, I'm not the right person to take advice from because I've hardly been in the corporate world.
I read somewhere that you had prepared some Excel in the beginning which had your margins like 50-60% or something. When you actually got into it, was it still 50-60%, or it was like on paper it started with that and then you got into some other realities which you like, just a production when you deploy, then you get some other issues as compared to.
Among the very few things we got right, we got the gross margin right. What we got wrong were the fixed costs projections, right? And what we got wrong was the compliance cost, right, of the competitors. I had a fantastic professor for marketing in Oxford, right? He was a dude. His concept of marketing was you need to know your competitor's cost. He says marketing starts at knowing your competitor's cost structure. And now you start understanding the cost structure, you know what they have for distribution, and then you start thinking about things around that. And he was the one guy who says, I'm surprised that no business school is teaching how to deal with corruption. You're going to go out, you're going to be corrupt, you will pay bribes, you will be asked for bribes if you don't pay bribes, and if you don't pay bribes, you will fail. So why aren't we teaching you how to pay bribes? But I knew that I will never pay bribes, and I wish I had thought about it that when it came to cost structures of the competition.
Hmm.
I only thought about the gross margins, and I know the competition's cost structure. It's standard in the industry, but I didn't know the cost structure, the fixed costs. And the fixed costs are much higher for any organized player in this market who wants to comply, pay taxes. आपका ESIC, PF can add up to your people cost, which is a big part of your cost, by about 15 to 18%, because it gets added up on the basic and not the whole thing. But overtime मिला के आपका people cost is higher by 20%.
Yes.
And secondly, if you don't pay GST or VAT, right? When we started, it was VAT with GST. If you don't do that, you're saving another 15-20%. And when you're making a profit, you're not declaring it all, so you're saving 30% on the profit. I'm not even
also.
Yes. So and even if I don't, because tax is a part of your cost structure,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
and
yes,
so I got that wrong, but I think GM we actually were conservative.
So what you're giving blue collar people a job, like how can that be an entrepreneur's goal? Because your goal has to be earning profits and whatnot.
I think the role of business, one of the roles is to make money, right? And and this is not an excuse for a business which is not making lots of money, but one of the roles. Business is a function of society. It's an organization in society, right? कोई business cannot stand without society, right? So it's your responsibility to be part of society, give back to society, give employment, see to it that society is furthering itself. If there's sustainability is an issue, it's your responsibility to see to it that you're aiding that, your neighborhood, your community, everything, and to make value and produce and extract value which is above what you're consuming. Fine, so that's a profit element of it. It's not just the profit element. It's all this, right? And
So you're like a purpose-driven.
Every business is, because take any business, take Printo for example. It's we are in this setup, we are in our factory space. Where did we get this space from? I might say, oh, I rented it from the landlord. Where did he get it from? Right? Finally, this belongs to there's some ground which belongs to all of us.
Do you
right?
think business owners really do this deep thinking? Like, for example, you said, it's your luck where you get born.
Yeah.
And this is something that you're actually getting from society.
I don't think they need to do the deep thinking, but I think that doesn't take away from the fact that this is how it is. And I'm sure a lot of them also realize that this is how it is. I think I have friends who run businesses who think about their customers as well as their team members as something which is part of one big.
But these corporates come with like deep pockets, right? How do you fight with them? Because they are the ones who are, maybe they'll hire people who you would otherwise want to hire and give them good money, but they'll pay them more money, and then
this is a marketplace problem, right? If you can extract as much value out of it, so you will lose out on some of the best talent out here. But then you make your business model accordingly, right? So you say, okay, I'll try to extract something else. I mean, you clearly can't have Printo hire the best tech talent in Bangalore. It doesn't make sense, right? I'm just giving an extreme example, because we're not extracting value from tech, right? In the way that maybe a Flipkart or a Swiggy or any of these would be. Their business requires to do that, right? And I think the talent affordability is a different challenge. But yes, there is one point in what you make is just like the financial world sucked up all the talent maybe 30 years ago or 40 years ago from rest of the industry. So you pass out from a Harvard and you go and join Goldman Sachs at $100,000 salary, and manufacturing has lost a whole bunch of talent. Us time manufacturing badi hoti thi.
I want to hear a little bit about your Sequoia story. What did you learn out of that? What would you tell someone to be cautious about, or you yourself?
See, I won't tell anybody to be cautious about it, because people told me to be cautious about it, and I did not. I said, yeah, I need money to grow the business, right? Abhi, you're telling me that person's might be a bad person. Okay, we'll figure it out, right? So it's not my place to advise. Caution folks, doesn't make sense, right? Because we will not listen. Entrepreneurs will listen only if it is convenient to our current plan. Right? If it disrupts
So you're
the
saying
plan.
we all learn with our own mistakes.
Yes, yeah, and that's why we change paths, we do all this stuff. Sequoia was a case of a venture capital fund, right, trying to yeah, go back on its deal and basically cheat an investee portfolio company, right? Maybe you have an agreement, you go back on it, you're cheating. Right?
You're
That's
not
a
afraid of
different-
saying that? Like
No, no, I'm not,
they're
because
big. They're big.
this is Sequoia no longer exists in India, right? Means they and it's a reflection on the people who ran that business in India. I earlier thought that wasn't cheating, somebody just gone through bad time in business. So yeah, they were supposed to pay us a certain money as per an agreement. They paid us half the money. After yeah, when the time came to pay us the remaining half, they said no, things have changed, we won't be able to pay you. And everybody on the board says let's not take them to court because it's not good to take a VC like Sequoia to court. And I didn't. And then later I realized that they had just what they told me why they couldn't pay was that their LPs had not put in money and it was a bad time. But then they came back and said, we'll pay you, but give us more. I said, you just lied to me. And there was a series of lies which led to that whole piece. Moreover, I also think my mistake and their mistake was to do business together. This is not a business which is a typical VC funded hockey stick business, right? Retail should not be run that way, right? It should be slow, steady, and then you can see a hockey stick, right? So if I had to restart all this, I wouldn't take money from them. That was a mistake. I took money from them without the fact that they may have cheated me later, but even if they hadn't, I don't think it would have turned out to be a good decision. No? To take VC money at that time. Right? We should have just got our business profitable, built it to a certain extent, and then perhaps store performance is usually influenced by the store manager and the location. There are lots of businesses, most businesses don't survive, right? Especially the VC invested businesses don't survive.
But those guys are very, ideally speaking, very knowledgeable. They have experience from other businesses also.
Yeah.
They obviously don't want to lose money themselves also. I know it is like somebody else's money that the GPs are employing.
Yeah.
But still, like, how come those well-meaning, good, knowledgeable people saying that open the store and then it will work, and then it did not
Yeah.
work?
So VC is a great business to be in. It's a poorly performing asset class, right? So as you rightly said, खुद का पैसा नहीं है. There are very few VCs who understand
Really
that
know
we
the-
don't know anything. But I don't think it's possible for anybody to know everything about everything. Yeah, and so very few VCs. That's why. So let's say a VC like I really like and I'm biased is Bloom, right? Clearly say, okay, we are betting on the entrepreneur, right? That's a clear bet. ठीक है यार, मुझे इंडस्ट्री ज़्यादा समझती है, थोड़ा बहुत समझता है. Anyways, at the early stage, what can you understand, यार? Praveen Gandhi was the angel investor. When he put in, I don't think he took a bet on my business model exactly. He took a bet on this guy seems to be interesting. He's got one or two references, and this space seems to be interesting. So I don't think we should demonize VCs too much. We seem to demonize them because they've also been given the status of these massive hero investors. Right? They're not. Right? They're just regular folks, and they're betting in a certain asset class, which is such a small, irrelevant asset class, really, in the global sense of things. It's kitna bada hai yaar? It must be 1% of the total investments. Maybe I'm not talking of P. I'm talking of VC. VC plus P might be 3, 4, 5%. I'm not a finance guy, but I think it's in that range.
So, again, not in the spirit of demonizing them, were you like an exception where the promises were not kept, or you think like it happens more often than not?
It's almost the rule, right? And during that time, the bunch of people I met who said,
this time was like those Lehman crisis? Or?
Yes, there are enough cases of VCs reneging on agreements even today, right? It's very common. VCs were teaming up, ganging up, cutting out a bunch of guys. So I don't think that's a.
So what is your overall advice around raising money? Sure, one thing is like you stay away from raising money as much as possible. It's only when you need it, you do it. But then,
Yeah.
like, what is that word of caution? Because it's not that your agreements were not watertight.
I would raise as little as possible, but focus more on the business. Get that profitable, right? Get those things going. Get some confidence.
Slow growth is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
Yeah, and get some in the initial stages, right? Does not cut out ambition, but say the rate of growth. When you're trying to figure out your product mix, कहाँ चलेगा, कौन सी दुकान कहाँ, that time you have to go slow. You cannot, because दिवाली साल में एक बार आती है, न्यू ईयर एक बार आता है. These are the two big seasons, and the seasonal business is seasonal. You only get 3 months in a year, and next time whatever you learn from your mistakes to implement, you got to wait for another 9 months, right? So at least get 2-3 seasons going in, right? Understand what the business is, how you're making money, and then you could raise a lot of money and then grow. Because once you start engaging with a venture capitalist and they want to understand your unit economics, and they want to understand why do you want so much valuation, then you say, okay, because I'm going to grow so much. That's the only answer you can give. Yeah, that why do you want to be valued at $10 million when your revenue today is 10 lakhs, right? So you say, हाँ लेकिन कल मैं बनाऊंगा ना. ओके बताओ कैसे बनाओगे. देन आप एक्सेल को खींच के ड्रैग करके आप ऐसे लेके जाओगे.
तो फिर आपको वैसे चलना भी पड़ेगा.
चलना भी पड़ेगा, right?
नहीं तो वो पूछेंगे.
And because venture capitalists want to deploy cash, so they also want to do this exercise and say, okay, 10 million नहीं 5 million valuation देंगे सब. से ठीक है, फिर भी वो एक्सेल थोड़ा तो ऐसा ही है. So VC is a class which is saying that, look, there's a new opportunity, new space. I want to go and bet on that.
Till 2015, your revenues were kind of growing, but the profit was not as much. Perhaps you were perhaps making losses or something.
Yeah. I think we actually were EBITDA positive ever since we bought out Sequoia. This business, if you run it well, it's a negative working capital business, and you can generate enough cash to deploy back into stores. So the reason we were not PAT positive, but EBITDA positive, was that we were keeping on deploying cash.
I see. So
back into growth. So we grew from 7 crores to 70 crores, 60 crores without raising any capital, and then actually all the way to 110 crores without raising any capital. Right? The first capital we raised after that was during COVID. This COVID completely killed our business, right?
Yeah, I can understand.
Marketing shot, so nobody's spending on marketing. Retail is not allowed to operate. It was killer, and we'd acquired a business called Canberra, which is a wedding brand. So wedding's not happening, and so suddenly you realize, my God, you got fixed costs of 4 to 5 crores. If you're not making any money, whatever you do, right? Maybe for 3 months you'll pay very much lower salaries, but beyond that, your losses keep kicking in, right? So that's when we had to go out and raise money.
Can I ask, like, what was the size of Printo?
Yeah, we actually went down in COVID, right? Back to 70, because post COVID our business we had to shut stores. Yeah? So we went back to 70 crores. Today we are like, this year we'll close at 140 crores, right?
Revenue, you're saying, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And we're profitable, PBD profitable. Last year we were EBITDA profitable before that, but last year we are PBD positive. This year, of course, we'll be PBD positive from here onwards.
Great.
But yeah, it's been a crazy 5 years to claw back after reaching a peak profitably and then go back and come back is a.
What are your main things which makes Printo kick?
I think the main thing is our customer orientation. Right? So customer service, customer orientation. We are not printers who come from a printer mindset of saying, मेरे पास ये equipment है, मैं ये छापूंगा, ये करूंगा, right? We say we are always thinking of what is the customer looking for and trying to introduce that product. So a customer may not see that actively, but over a period of time, that's why we went from 100% print on paper. Most printers shut down during COVID. We could survive because we were focusing on what else does the customer want to start and create and grow their brand, right? So printing on t-shirts, printing on canvas, mugs, all those things. So I think that was a key thing that makes Printo something which is worthwhile going to. We also focus on making it easy and quick. So if you want quick turnaround time, you come to Printo. You want it easy, no hassle. ये चार option है, एक ले लो, आपको बता देंगे. That's another thing. You
Customization.
Yes, customization. We make that easy. Right. Earlier printing otherwise would be कौन सा GSM paper चाहिए, gloss, matte, lamination कौन सा चाहिए. Here we give you productized options. The same stuff, but giving productized. So that's what really from a customer point of view, they find it easy, quick, and hopefully wow, right? Because the whole experience comes out.
Yeah.
And it's wow is an experience which is important for us, and we keep working hard on it. We sometimes go down, sometimes come up, because for that individual who's creating something, if it can be made easy and can be made quick, that wow apne aap aa jayega.
When do you think is a time about company culture that you have to be like, okay, I'm a founder and we are 5, 7, 10 people, so we know what this company is about. Maybe you reach a certain number of people, revenue size, when you have to actually define it so that all the newcomers get aligned.
I think in our case, it got clear very early, because first we used to all work this from a store, right? So the founding team, everybody else in the store. So you're observing each other, you're getting to know each other, you know who's fitting in, not fitting in. People are observing, values are being set, unstated, right? And so our head office, जो ये office है हम support office बोलते हैं, was in the store only, right? And the back end, right? But then soon we had to move out, and we took an office next doors, a few, in Koramangala itself, a few 100 meters away. And right away we saw that there's some dilution, right, in certain principles, because new people have come in, they've joined, they've become supervisors, store managers, and those who are sitting with us in the support office are getting the same culture influence, the others are not. So we need to codify it. So, but because ours was a retail business, we codified very early. Right? So we started with an SOP before we started our store. So the process ho gaya. At the same time, in your process itself, when you define refund, hona chahiye, nahi hona chahiye, right? That itself starts putting in some parts of the culture. So I think I'm never the process implementer guy. That was Lalna's strength, and I think the earlier you do it, the better. Right? So yeah, and if you're sitting in one place, the day you do not know everybody by name, and you forget the person's name, but you forget ये कहाँ से है, क्या कर रहे हैं, right away you need to start putting.
Does it help to codify? Like people do they read it and do they follow?
Definitely, because what happens is the person who comes in, if he or she is not guided कि क्या है, right? थोड़ा बहुत guiding, right? They won't know better, and they will bring the culture that they bring in.
Yeah.
Right? And the person, the senior manager, over, man. That person's culture is there. It's not good or bad. Cultures are not good or bad.
Yeah.
It's about this how we do it, right? हम घर में घुसते ही नमस्ते बोलते हैं, पैर पड़ते हैं, ये करते हैं, वो करते हैं. Let's say that's your culture, right?
Yeah.
And this other person says, no, I just say hello, I give a big hug, right? Yeah. He starts doing that, and both are good ways to do it. But you want some similarity, right? To be, and that's your Printo way.
Do you enforce the culture also by any way, or it's only just information?
In retail, it's very straightforward. You've got to come to stores half an hour before the store opens, right? It's clear. Support office better be available when the stores open, right? Because they will need support, right? I think when we've let go of flexibility, and we've had those moments post-COVID, tech team thoda late aayegi, ye karegi, wo karegi, and it's been difficult, right? For example, we have a uniform culture. Everybody at stores is in uniform, everybody in production is in uniform, and most of our company was only in uniform, right? That was our culture. We wanted to build a place where there was no ooch neech, and in retail that was very important. If you see, retail in India was very new when we started off in terms of organized retail. So yeah, it was very clear जो uniform में नहीं है वो set होगा, right? Or he's the big shot, right? And we just wanted to make it very clear that all of us, when we're serving customers, we're equal, right? And and we had to codify that. And just because you're a manager, you have no right to speak rudely to your team member and your colleague, right? Because retail is different, right? Now these are understood things in maybe the white collar world, in the IT world, right? But here these are not understood things, right? People are coming from very different backgrounds, right? They're coming from poor economic backgrounds, not been exposed to this. If being pushed a bit, they might retaliate in a very different way. They're not used to all
The
this.
soft skills are not there.
Yes, and hence it's very important to create a structure to allow them to get into this our so-called organized world. Secondly, a business is all about detailing, getting things right, consistency, and to do that, you need to be consistent, right? In the way you are, the way you behave, the way you speak. So writing out the code of saying that when the phone rings, what are you going to say? You say, thank you for calling Printo Kormangla. This is Manish. How may I help you? Right? So आपको सोचना ही नहीं है मैं क्या बोलूं, क्योंकि आप अंग्रेजी में बात कर रहे हो पहली बार, दूसरी बार, it's not your natural language, your native language. First you got to think of what to say and how to say it.
How do you make sure what people to hire? And what type of people would thrive, let's say, at a retail type of a location?
People who like, who have energy, who like interacting with customers, who like energetic workflow. So you may be an introvert, but you would love the action behind. People who are detail oriented. So you'd have a mix like in any operation. You will have detail oriented people who might be introverts but are very good at getting it right, but they don't mind one-on-one interaction. And our retail stores is not a salesy environment, it's not a sell job, but at the same time you should be comfortable working as teamwork, right? It's not a
So they don't upsell to the customers.
So I wish we did a better job, but it's the first focus is on serving the customer for the needs have come in, and then say, hey, have you seen our paper sample book, right? What can be done? But because we have to produce what you have in mind first, right? So it's more a solutioning business rather than a sales business.
Right? You have acquired a few companies down the line. What is the thought process behind, let's say, let me build this from scratch versus let me acquire this? How do you get to the point where you think, yeah, this is a good thing which I should actually acquire? And my second part of the question would be like, then what are the challenges that come? One is like the cultures, as you said, might be totally different.
Yeah, so I acquire because nobody was acquiring me. So I said, मैं ही acquire कर लेता हूँ यार दूसरों को और क्या करूँगा, right? But jokes aside, I think India is a challenging environment to scale certain businesses or get exits, right? So there are also good acquisition opportunities available. We can't afford tech easily when we were a 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 crore business. We're competing with salaries in Bangalore. It's crazy. So we found it better to acquire InkMonk, right, which was a fantastically run business but not profitable. And we thought we could use the platform, and that drives Printo in today, which is profitable. Right, so that worked out very well.
So when you say platform, as in like there is already good people working there.
Yeah.
So now we can maybe, it's kind of a
inkmonk.com, the website is today what is inkmonk.com as well as Printo.in. So instead of building, we had a very basic website, but now we just instead of building it ourselves, we acquired this, customized it for our requirement, right? So it saved us shitloads of money and time to build a website which would do print fulfillment, right? So
and that is just one of the things, right? Obviously, you did not acquire the whole company just for the website.
Actually, the whole business of that company was built around the website. Achha. So it was an online.
So you were offline earlier, and that gave you an online muscle.
An online stage, and today, 15% of our SMB business comes from digital, right? So that's an important part of our business today. A lot of the team has stayed back with us. I work very closely with them. They're based out of Chennai, right? So they get to be where they are. We created a production hub there, so production integrated. We did have challenges, but not as many, because I think culturally we were aligned that let's not mess up customer service. Let's give good products, right? It was not a salesy oriented culture, or we are effectively are South Indians. हम Bangalore वाले हैं, वो चेन्नई वाले हैं, शादी आराम से हो सकती है. So proximity is important, right? Again, cultural values about getting good quality stuff, which is very difficult to get in this space, were all aligned. Integration, surely. Canberra didn't have or InkMonk didn't have a culture of putting on uniforms, right? And we yet struggle with that today. I don't think it's solved, right? So there are some challenges, but I don't, luckily we've not had the major challenges, right? Because we first went and checked cultural values.
What when you are trying to look for acquisitions, what all do you see? One is maybe complementary businesses.
The easy ones are business fit है नहीं है, all that stuff. आप
Culture
you know,
fit तो पहले से कैसे पता
yeah,
चलेगा? Like
yeah.
due diligence.
So I think cultural gets to know is I remember ordering a T-shirt from Ink Monk, right? And so quality, how it came in. Also, you go and visit, spend time there. You realize how the founder is speaking to the team, right? The team speaking to the founder. You realize, okay, man, this is not a Lala company. It's been run well. Is egalitarianism. While the founder is pretty strong, the team is also pretty strong and opinionated. That's good. Our learning is that don't make small acquisitions. Don't buy a small company. Make it a large company, because the transaction time and cost.
Achha, the setup cost will be
the same.
Will
right?
be the same.
Yeah, I've got to meet the top management. Got to do all that stuff. Whether it's a 30-person company or a 300-person company, right? I'll meet those same top 30 people in the company, right? And so make it count.
That's a good learning,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I have heard you say that belief is very important, and your self-belief rather than borrowed belief.
What I mean by borrowed principle is that बस आपका बिजनेस में कुछ तो फंडामेंटल खुद का प्रिंसिपल होना चाहिए, ये क्यों चल रहा है, राइट? एंड यू हैव टू स्टार्ट फिगरिंग आउट what is your core USP in your business. How would you build culture on your own? You can read and get inspired and get a construct. अच्छा आप लोग ऐसे सोचते हो, अच्छा, but and मेरी सोच ऐसे है, but because of now I know the path, I will create my own path. The problem with all these borrowed beliefs and borrowed principles is that then when you're in when you're in trouble, you don't know which book to pick up and read and guide yourself, right? And you will keep then coming up with some new book that you read, new podcast that you listen to, and then team को आपको 2 घंटे का आपका भाषण सुनना पड़ेगा कि आज हमें ऐसे करना चाहिए.
What are your sources of learning today?
So podcasts, a big one, right? I've just started a journey of learning about performance marketing, right? I've kept away from it, but now we see it's a big lever, it's growing, and somebody.
So you yourself are learning that, or you'll hire somebody who?
No, I'm learning it, man, because we need to really understand. We have people who are there, but I think it needs to be founder-led if it's going to be a big lever. So I'm sitting down, looking at it, creating a campaign, and I'm done with that phase when I said, why am I doing this? I said, okay, ye karna hai. Abhi they got to figure this out. This is something which somebody in the top management needs to do, right?
Absolutely.
And it's going to be, if it's going to be a competitive advantage, then you better get into that. I read a lot. I'm a very slow reader, but I read a fair amount, right? I read less on business.
So
I think most of my learning is on health, running, those kind of stuff. If you visit my house and see the books, we are all over the place in terms of interests.
Why do you run it?
You do it first as a sport, and then you start doing it as a, it becomes meditative when you start running alone, right?
Yeah, that too.
As an entrepreneur, you're surrounded by everybody else throughout. So I'm an extrovert and I get energy by meeting people, but you also need your downtime, and that's your alone time that you do that. Beyond this, I think there's something in the endurance side of it, right? That helps you. And also you'll start running for community because you make friends outside workspace. It becomes a community.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I was part of Runners High. And
when you launch a new product or a new brand, or let's say you are trying to evaluate something, how do you get to know that this thing is working or this is not working, or maybe this is right now not doing well, but it has a potential? Like, how do you judge that?
It's a good point, because we failed so many times, and at the same time, I think my challenge is to not be that old guy saying ye nahi chalega yaar, humne try kiya. I think what we found, what doesn't work 6 years ago, keep trying it every 2 years. In our business, fail fast beyond some point ke maine 2-3 mahina try kiya, and luckily we've got enough customer base, enough this, so traction agar 3-4 mahine mein nahi dikha, you can move it on.
Okay.
Similarly, don't spend too much effort in building a category and product for like months and then fail, right? And say ye nahi chala hai, right? I don't see us getting into any new line without having tested it in a small way. So once you have customers, it's easy, right? And we also see, for us, the other constraint is, can I make it on the same production platform, right? So then it's easy for me to
not
say,
too much of extra capex.
So we do a simple 2x2 in my head, at least, saying that existing customer, existing product. So business card use pay for existing customers. Can I give UV spot lamination, gold foiling, better paper, looks better?
That is like not a new product.
Yes.
That is
so that's the first easiest one to say yes to. हाँ सोचो भी मत करते रहो. The second one is new product, existing customer. Right. That's the two categories we should operate in.
Sure.
If at all you have to go out, existing product to a new customer, if at all, right? Try not to go there, right? And of course, please don't go to new customer, new product. We are considering getting into the interior line, but then see to it which interior design wall signage can you sell to existing customers rather than to interior designers and architects who are not necessarily your existing vertical.
When do you get to know, okay, now we should scale it, and like what are the challenges? Maybe the location is not right.
Yeah.
Like what are the main 2-3 things that you think of when you're trying to open a new store, or how?
Firstly, we wouldn't figure out people, culture in the first store, right? It will take you a little more time. So either it'll take you time and at least 2-3 other stores, right? Because then when you're distributed, you start realizing what are the issues that come in. Some processes change. So I think 3-4 stores चाहिए. And then new city में क्या करोगे आप?
ऐसे business में city wise भी कुछ अलग हो जाता है.
Yeah, every store is a market of its own, right? And you will get network effects within the city. Beyond the city, your network effects plummet. I think the time to scale is when you're generating enough cash and your unit economics are not just at the store level. I think the mistake a lot of people who are in, when I see some of the retail businesses and especially in the QSR space, maybe in the cafe space, who say, hey, we are profitable at a unit economic level, but they're not, because your unit economics are not just your store. You got to go right across your fixed cost of the company, right? And to say that when I'm 500 stores, I'll be profitable is not good enough. You have to at least have a path to decent profitability in that 30 stores or 40 stores out there.
You've been doing this for like 18-19 years now.
Yeah. 19.
Don't you get bored of this? What keeps you still motivated?
So motivation changed, and I did get distracted. I did lose motivation in the middle. I think this is part of an entrepreneur's journey, right? To be motivated every day is bloody tough, right? Beyond some point. Right now I'm motivated because we've just come out from fighting a fire for the last 4-5 years. Now we can do less firefighting. We can think about growing, right? So that's the motivation now. But during the firefight itself, after 2 years of firefighting, you say, man, what the hell? This has been crazy. So you got to find some motivation. I don't think, I find a motivation every day. There is always a time for saying, hey, there are so many employees who lose their job.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't fix this shit, right? So I think for Lala and me, that's been a big motivator. For me right now is there's a good path ahead. Let's build. You got a good base going. ठीक है 4-5 साल fight किया वापस. Now we've established the base again. Let's grow and build a company that outlives us.
I'm saying, let's say you're only going up and up and up.
Yeah.
But when do you get to know, okay, abhi I want to do something else, or this is it?
Yeah. I think I have not yet been able to solve that. In fact, pre-COVID, I had fantastic CEO who was running Printo, clearly much better job than I would have done, right? I was in a situation where I could say I could step back significantly, and then COVID had different plans, right? I would feel that as soon as your company does not need you for that quarterly board meeting, right? It can go on without itself. People don't need you for the AHM. All hands meet, we have a quarterly AHM. And there are no inbounds coming in, right? मुझे कोई पूछ ही नहीं रहा है. That's a good time to say, okay, I can start thinking of going autopilot. The only change I've realized is that the earlier I start thinking of that, the better, because it's better for the company. Company needs to stop being dependent on you. So I would encourage people to start thinking about it at least year 2 or 3, because that's what I did, right? I said that मैं नहीं होऊंगा तो क्या होगा? We discuss, at least have started conversation on saying, okay, what does it look like? What does the pipeline look like? Who are the potential leaders for the next 3-4 years?
Spend time on that. That's great.
Yeah.
If you were sitting in a room with, let's say, somebody who has business 10x your size, what would be questions you would be asking him?
I have been in the room with some people who got business 10x size, right? And the first thing I would ask them कि आपका तो 50x था अभी 10x कैसे हो गया? Right. Otherwise, I would definitely ask them a lot of questions that you asked me, right? Saying in terms of people, processes, and management. I would ask him tactical questions that how do you deal with, do you pay, do you bribe people, and how do you deal with this thing if you don't want to do it? How should I think about it, right? Because I don't bribe people, but at the same time, I don't think these people are profitable only because of that. I would say, how do you think about leadership? I would talk a lot about how do you think about compensating folks out there. Do you spread yourself thin across categories? Do you focus on one, double down on one? I would have asked how many leaders who were with you in the last 5 years, last 10 years are yet there, and and are you thinking about, and how many were there in the first 5 years are yet there? Also helps me think through my leadership pipeline and saying how is it going to continue, because we know what got you there won't necessarily take you somewhere else, right? There's some truth to it, and there's also some fact that what got you here, for example, if I say what got me here was customer service, will also take me ahead, but perhaps not the same talent, nothing strategic and spiritual.
Who do you think should become actually an entrepreneur?
As a wise woman once told me, that's my wife, that remember, you made more money when you were in a job.
Yeah.
So somebody else knows how to get the best out of you better than you know, right? And
At least in the beginning.
well, I think from a salary perspective, I yet don't make as much as what I made in my previous job when I was working in the US and UK, right? And you could argue that, hey, listen, those are different currencies and this and that, but it was also 20 years ago.
Bank is money in the
But it was 20 years ago, yes. One should know one's environment of where you flourish the most, right? I think that's an important one to figure out. And if you go back to your college days, bunch of other days, you would figure out what that is. So I think if I go back to my college days, do that, I think I would have said yes, do entrepreneurship, right? Irrespective of the wise advice, you can make much more money, definitely through a job, simply because you just look at the probabilities, right, of entrepreneurship, and you say that your chance of making 100 crore business, and hence I feel like thoroughly lucky to get to 100 crore profitable business is 1 in a lakh. If that, actually it's even worse than that. आप सोचो ना कितने लोग धंधा शुरू कर रहे हैं. So if your chances 1 in a lakh is what 0.001% maybe, right? 1% would be 1 in 100, 0.001% into what your outcome might be. Let's say I do 100 crore personal exit, which is a ridiculous outcome. It may not happen. I'll have to wait for a much further time. Even if a company does 100 crore personal exit, which means the company is doing a much larger exit, 100 crores into 0.001%, I think comes to a crore, right? And now look at you do all this, take all these risks, get it. So that's your way to calculate the price of that option, right? Probability into this. And now you calculate the price of the option of a job and saying that worst case you will get, means most people at my age, who are my classmates, would be at a crore a month, a year, sorry, if they are in India, that's it. And we know enough who are making 10x of that or 5x of that. So, but even if you take it at 1 crore a year, that's what you're saying. This doesn't make sense. So you're right. Don't go and start a business because you think that's the way out to make money, right? And the people who know business instinctively, they won't even be listening to all of us. उनको मालूम है धंधा कैसे करना है, right? They get that. They can smell the money. They can do that, and they will do that, right? And even when they take up a job, they're already doing this math in their head subconsciously. Right? And they say, "अच्छा यही job ही कर लेते हैं."
So one is the motivation, but other than that, do I need to have certain kind of traits in me, skills in me, which make me more probable for success? Or
I think the one skill is, or a trait is to deal with uncertainty, which it seems very obvious, but we I'm surprised with so many people who are unable to deal with uncertainty, right? And because there are too many uncertain things, right? There's nothing clear. Means you're trying to raise money from somebody. He's saying कल 8 बजे आ जाना check ले जाना नहीं हुआ, and at the same time person not joining at the same time. We all have these problems in life, but all of them happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. I think if you think you don't like those environments, you're going to just suffer in this space. Your love for whatever you want to do, whatever you call it, a love, passion, this thing
Should be higher.
should be much higher than so your personal social engagement should be higher than the the social cost.
Yeah,
of
somebody
doing
said
this.
passion means like how much you can endure for doing this. It's not like how much you love doing it. It's like what
Yeah.
all you can endure
Yeah.
while you're pursuing.
Yes, you're right, because it is an endurance game. Eventually, if you're doing the business with beyond yourself, with just one person, it's a different thing.
Yeah. And I know you had once mentioned that a business is about reducing the risk as you go.
Yeah.
Or is it taking bigger risks as you go?
No, it's completely about reducing risk. Actually, that's why.
But if I have to make something big, like I have understood this much.
Yeah.
Now, that should I not go to like uncharted territories
You
and
will
do more?
You will, and one of the reasons for you to do that may also be because you want to reduce risk of you not surviving, right? And
Like
say because
putting
somebody
all
else
the
will come in out
eggs in
here.
one
Yes,
basket.
yeah. And I need to grow because somebody else who's big in the territory will come in out here. So I think an entrepreneur is actually very risk averse after the first step they make. They are risk averse because they want to reduce the risk of shutting down, and so they keep working hard to innovate so that they don't shut down, right?
What do you tell yourself in times of difficulty?
Well, when I'm really down shit creek, I say that this too shall pass, right? Because nothing is really, permanent.
That's very spiritual answer.
Yeah, it is, because that's how it is, though, right? Because like anything except from a hamstring pain, which seems to be permanent now for a year, right?
This too shall pass.
Yes,
Trust me.
Yeah, and there is an element of spirituality to it, even in our own pain. But yeah, I think for me, this too shall pass is something which we've seen in the worst of times happen. It's pulled me through, and it's a trick also that pulls me through in long distance
Runs also.
runs, because you say boss abhi to rukna hi hai, ye bahut ho gaya, and what I'll end up saying, ठीक है, let's stop, but we will stop after 10 minutes, right? We're stopping after 10 minutes, and let's take the decision, just review the decision, nahi to you will stop for sure after 10 minutes. Your mind is such a monkey, it's jumped all over, come to something else. Oh, we have to stop also. Nahi, chalo chalte raho, right?
The last questions now.
Yeah.
Like, what are your guiding principles today?
यार बहुत मोटा सवाल पूछ लिया आपने.
Last के लिए बचा के.
One thing I like to see is that nothing belongs to one person, right? We all a collective out here together. Right? I think that's an important guiding principle for me. It does interfere with capitalism.
Yeah.
जो हमारा है वो भी हमारा नहीं है, right? And hence you need to help everybody out, right? And whom you can, right? And this is not coming from a superlative way that you are in a superior position, but that is a core.
It should be the human nature to serve.
Yeah, yeah, and that goes beyond humans, goes to animals as well, because they're all in the same space. We've just gone in and we all used to live together, right? In some sense, and we've gone in and invaded this space. I think those are important for us to, finally, at least for me to finally center myself. And the other thing is that people in general are good, but if at all there's flaws when people come together as groups and mobs and all that stuff. But yeah, so I think these are some of them. I don't know.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, how was your Saturday run, Manish? I know you go for long runs on Saturday.
I'm prepping for an ultra which is in the hills.
Okay. What is ultra?
Ultras, anything that's beyond the regular marathon distance of 42K are known as ultras.
Okay.
Right?
You even cycle for work. So what's your philosophy behind that?
I think both of these are lifestyles more than anything else. Running started off more as fitness, became lifestyle, and then as you grow older, you have to remain fit to if you want to keep running. I used to do long distance cycling, but I've stopped that. It's more risky.
So what is the advice, if you have anything for people, like in terms of these lifestyle things as you have learned over time?
Keep something going and don't look at this as as trying to be bigger, stronger, faster, but just something which is part of your lifestyle. It's we have food, we have entertainment. This is one of the things you need to put in. Some people pray every day. I think this is what you should put in, and good physical health is very important for good mental health, and vice versa.
Absolutely. I know you are an avid mountaineer also, and you do like some crazy heights and
Trying
whatnot.
to. No, I always wanted to do mountaineering. Through our school, we used to go for treks, and then while living there, we used to go for treks around Bombay. And in my first Himalayan trek, I saw these guys going up, with big bags, in one row, and learned that the defense ministry used to conduct a camp for training civilians as well as defense personnel for mountaineering. And I always wanted to go for that course. It was open for everyone. Went back to it when I was 44. The cutoff that time was 37 years.
Okay.
And pleaded, said that was Lelo, sent them my certificates. Luckily, they called me in and said, "Theek hai jao," right? There's one slot open in the next batch. And that's how I got into mountaineering. But, I'm a late bloomer. You can
So what do you like about it?
No, I think one is that you can go and be in places which are and have much more solitude, right? So secondly, there's a whole sense of exploring the unknown, right? So I think that's what I like about it, right? Going somewhere where you don't know where you're getting to. You have a general idea and you're figuring out stuff. You can never have a very clear path.
The uncertainties are always there.
Yes, yeah, and trekking has uncertainties, and mountaineering has a new level of uncertainties, right? Because you're trying to climb something where there's no path, right? You're trying to climb.
So trekking is something where there is a defined path, and
yes, so trekking would be, so there's no such definition as such clear, but there are grades. So as soon as you need technical equipment, right? Which means that you need boots of a certain kind, crampons, ropes, maybe an ice axe. It starts becoming technical and becomes mountaineering more, right?
Tell me something which was most exciting, challenging, interesting.
I think every trip has some experience, and I've experienced a lot of bad weather. So one of my first expeditions was with an English group, right? And I was the token Indian in it. We were 12 of us, and 11 of us, and one Indian, and we went to Pangi Valley, which is in Himachal. It's it's on the east of Kishtwar, and a very remote valley. And so the idea is to go trek to a base camp. After 3-4 days, you get there, and then you start climbing peaks around. It was my first proper one outside of a mountaineering course. So I was very excited, at the same time nervous. And the folks around me were 60, 64. That time I was 45, 46.
You were the younger one.
Yes, and I got a lot to learn from them. It's amazing. But the day when we went up for a recce, did one peak, a 5,200 meter peak, came back, and we had a message from Martin Moran, who was the founder of the group. He's one of the top mountaineers, and he's no more, unfortunately, and said that move fast, heavy weather coming, take action. And we said, kya yaar, we've come to base camp, we come to advanced base camp, it's about to set up. Weather was great. We were really tired. We had to take everything out. Next morning, early morning, went one level back, right? And everything was clear. Everybody was, complaining. We went to sleep. By the time I came out after 3 hours of a nap in the morning, the whole landscape had changed. Within a day, we had a meter of snow.
Oh my!
And we were like, we were stuck there for a very long time, and it was very exciting. Everybody at home was worried because, and I was wondering, how do they know the weather here? Later we realized there were a bunch of landslides. The whole road had broken down.
Oh my!
And we were saved thanks to him, because if you were up on the mountains, there was a very high chance of casualty.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.